Welcome, everybody, to My GLP-1 Success Podcast. Today, we're talking about food noise, the constant voice around food that doesn't shut up. Even if you're on the GLP-1 medications, lowering appetite, a lot of women realize that the food noise is still there. It's not gone. So if it's not food noise, what is it? That's why we're joined by JaredHamilton, women's weight loss coach and the author of soon to be released, The Food Noise Solution, to break down what's really happening and how to actually silence it. Jared, welcome to the show.
Hello, I appreciate you guys having me. This is cool.
Yeah, so first of all, describe what food noise really is. What does it mean?
So for me, like when I think definitions are important. So for me, the Jared definition of food noise, because everyone's experience with it is different, is the mental rumination around just overall chatter around food. Because some people, that's hunger based. It's like, I'm always hungry, I'm thinking about my next meal. Some people, it has nothing to do with hunger. It's just I'm eating this meal, thinking about that meal. For some people, it's as soon as I have a stressful moment, I just gravitate to food. So everyone's journey with food noise is different, but I would, to like gather all of it, is the constant mental rumination overarching and chatter as a whole around food. That's how I would define it.
Mhm.
That's exactly why I wanted to bring Jared on, because I'm very much in alignment with that definition, and I think Jared brings up a good point, right? That there can be some nuance in there, and it can show up differently for different people. But I think that's a pretty good 30,000-foot view, all-encompassing definition. So I'm aligned with you there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's experience with food noise is so different. Some people's, like I said, is everything to do with their hunger because of there's issues around that. But then others have nothing to do with hunger. They're like, why am I eating? I'm not hungry. And that's a constant thought. Well, it's like, it has nothing to do with hunger. They got on GLP-1 because they struggle with, let's say, emotional eating, but it's not a hunger issue. So they're like, wait, I'm on GLP-1. Why is my food noise not going away? It's because we're not addressing it from the nervous system standpoint. So that it's very nuanced and everyone's own little journey with it. So.
Yeah. Could you walk us through your own personal experience?
Yeah. So my journey, so I'm 34 at the time of recording this. My journey started when I was 11. I was given a Weight Watchers book when I was just a kid. I grew up as like the chunky kid, the husky kid, like the garbage disposal, Eeyore, all of the labels, right? Well, that's when my journey started. So when I was a kid, I was like I said, I was a chunky kid. And so I was just given a Weight Watchers book because that's what my mom did. So she's like, cool, here, just do Weight Watchers like I do. And so I remember reading like this little like pamphlet Weight Watcher book on like how to calculate points and all that stuff. And in that moment, I literally heard food noise turn on, because then every decision was like, ooh, how many points are in that? I should eat that. I shouldn't eat that. I'm walking through the grocery store as a kid. I go, well, I can't have my favorite snacks now. Well, that muffin I used to really like is half my day's worth of points, so I can't have that. That's a bad food, but I can eat these. All of the chatter started. So that's when my journey started. And then fast forward the next 10 years, I had trendy dieted and tried all the diets under the sun, the keto, fasting, Weight Watchers, meal plans, all the works to lose weight, and with nothing to show for it. And it wasn't until later on, like in my upper teenage years, when I started healing my relationship with food, getting good information. And then as my relationship with food started to heal, all of a sudden my food noise and my ruminating thoughts around food and all that stuff started to go down as a byproduct. And then I got later on into the profession of coaching and things like that. But that's kind of like the Cliff Notes version of how mine started. So
That's interesting. So it was with the book, which I'm assuming was given with the best of intentions
of
of
course,
love and care and support. It was actually that book, it was actually that resource that then shifted things in your mind, where you were able to identify do you think you were identifying the food noise for the first time, or do you think that it was that perspective that the book gave you that then switched it on?
I mean, looking back, I had no idea that's what it was, but like hindsight's always 2020. So
Yeah.
because I think most people, like there's like, we all heard like the stages of awareness, like conscious, like unconscious incompetence, conscious competence, all of that. I think back then, because I was 11 and most people, even if they're older than 11, they just have no idea. We don't know what we don't know. Right. Like me going, oh, well, I should have this. I shouldn't have this. That's a bad food. That's a good food. I can eat this. Well, what am I eating this? If I'm eating this now, wait, what's my budget later? Like all of that. I didn't know that was food noise. Looking back now, it's like, oh my gosh, that was so disordered. That was tons of food noise. But it was almost as if I was handed like a new rule book. Like, here's a new subset of how you eat the rest of your life. It's almost like a comparison that I really like. That is the concept. Like, if I were to compare food noise to, like, if someone has a hard time understanding it, think of like money noise. If money is tight, or you have all these crazy rules around what to spend, how to spend your money, you're going to have more money noise. If you have, let's say, $5,000 a month worth in expenses and you make $4,900 a month, it's really tight. You're gonna have so much money noise. Every like fill up of your gas tank is like, should I, shouldn't I, do I have enough? Like, it's a constant tension, constant threat to the brain. A lot of it's with food noise. If you're living by like crazy levels of rules where one slip up, you're off. One slip up, you're like, oh, I'm gaining weight back. My life is over. Again, a lot of these issues are rooted in childhood stuff or trauma or whatever. So then it signals lack of safety in the brain or in the nervous system, let alone like the actual budget of like this many points, this many calories, whatever. So that's why for me, I think it all came up so much. Looking back now, it was 100% food noise just because of the rule subset I was now abiding by, so to speak.
That kind of begs the question for me, how do we thread the needle between enhancing awareness and providing support and not making something feel like it's stringent punishment if we step outside of that support guideline?
To me, two things come up: internalizations and sustainability. Because if what someone's, so for example, telling an 11-year-old to count points and to be on Weight Watchers is not sustainable. Whereas if my mom said, and again, like I don't mean this in any way negative. I love my mom. She was doing the best she could. Her and I have a great relationship, all of that stuff. And I would not be where I'm at in the position I'm at today if I didn't go through that. So, but at the end of the day, that was not sustainable for an 11-year-old. It would have been different if it was like, hey, let's have protein a few times a day. Let's make sure we're eating lots of colorful vegetables in food. And if you're going to eat something like, let's say, cake, donuts, ice cream, whatever, let's learn moderation. Let's have it, but let's have it with all, like, there's other ways around this. Just like with clients, like some clients, calorie tracking is a great idea. Some it's not, some whatever. It's an individual thing. But for me, if what someone is doing is not sustainable, then like it's not worth doing whatsoever. But then so much of tactics and like the thread the needle, so to speak, to me is the internalization. I'll take calorie tracking, for example. As a whole, I am a net fan of calorie tracking. And one of the things that we do in my program is we actually heal someone's relationship with calorie tracking, because I think calorie tracking is one of the fastest ways to heal your relationship with food because of how we use it. But so much of it is an internalization. For example, if someone views calorie tracking as a countdown to when they're not allowed to eat and how deprived they get, I don't care how sustainable your calorie tracking is, the narrative that is playing in the head is affecting the experience that they have with that utility tool or with that tool. Versus the way we view calorie tracking is we're trying to get away with how much you can eat. We're trying to work your favorite foods in like almost like a cheat code. And then we also use it to be grounded to know exactly where you're at. So when those thoughts of, oh my gosh, am I gaining weight? You know, you didn't overeat. So it actually, we use it as a grounding tool when the ego starts to get a little bit crazy. So this is why the same women that come into my program go, I cannot count calories and they're having a panic attack, are now like, I love calorie tracking. It makes my life so much easier. And my food noise went away. Because for me, it's the narrative. Because we can do this to everything else. Like, I have the best marriage in the world, but if I viewed my marriage like a ball and chain, she don't let me do like all of that, like, then I'm going to have a bad marriage because my internalization of what marriage is awful. But I view my marriage as it is safety. It is the best partnership ever. It is, we are a team. Well, because that's my internalization of how I view my marriage. My experience with my marriage is incredible. So for me, it comes down to, is what we're doing with the person sustainable on like a surface level, but then at a depth level, what internalizations or stories or narratives are playing unconsciously under the surface that are dictating the emotional experience?
Ooh.
I knew this conversation was going to be good. Like, I did not know it was going to be
Ryan, is your brain firing? Because I'm like, there's so much there to unpack. Jared, you just took this to a whole another level, my friend.
That is the deepest I have ever heard somebody take food noise, and the deepest that I've ever heard somebody talk about sustainability and healthy patterns around a relationship with food of anybody, of any counselor that I've ever heard speak about it, of any doctor that I've ever heard speak about it, of any personal trainer that I've ever heard speak about it. So kudos
I
to you.
appreciate that.
Ask the next question so that I
Oh
don't
my
keep
gosh.
spinning
Okay.
on that.
So let's just backtrack, Jared, because you just like, I don't even want to look at my questions here because it doesn't even matter anymore.
That's great.
Okay. First of all, I love that you said you had a woman, like a person, a manual, like this is how you eat.
Yeah.
And that makes me realize that, when we are born, we're not taught how to eat, right? It's our natural instincts. Like we're born, we cry, we're hungry, and we get fed, right? So the way we're taught to eat are by our caretakers. And then when you take that to the next level, is that if our caretakers had a struggle, battle with food, or they had that food noise, now that we've got a word, like name to put on it, if they had their food noise, we end up adapting it, and that becomes our food noise as well. But then when you're given a manual and you're like, this is how you're supposed to eat, like your whole identity changes. How you look at food, how you look at yourself, it all changes, right? So what does that look like for a person? And do you notice that too? It's like coming from not being taught to reteaching and relearning as well. I mean, when you talk about you being 11 and the Weight Watchers and the calorie counting, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I see this between my experience and then what I also see with clients that work with us, where when it comes to childhood stuff, parenting is caught not taught. You know what I mean? Where it's I mean, think about like the animal kingdom. The only reason a baby cub knows how to go hunt is because they watch mom hunt. Mom doesn't go, okay, buddy, here's where you bite them, here's how you run, here's how you jump and bite. Like they just go, what's mom do? And there's a psychiatrist, I think he's a psychiatrist that I'm a big fan of, and he talks about, someone was asking him, he said, man, how do I get my kids to listen to me because they're just not, and he goes, your kids are never going to listen to you. They're just going to model what you do. So be very careful about what behavior you are modeling. And that's so true. Like even as a kid, I mean, I'm sure we all could have that, like observing our parents growing up, you could tell when something wasn't quite right, even if words were saying a different story, is because you can feel things, you can see things, energy is a thing. I mean, 90% plus of all communications nonverbal. So it's like literally the least important thing is the actual words you're saying. So when it comes to all that, it plays a role because I just modeled what my mom did and those kind of things. So like the food rules, once I start, I can't stop. Once I've fallen off, screw it, I'll start over Monday. Like a lot of that kind of stuff. But then it's also truth that I see with clients because this is exclusively what I help people fix. And it's the same thing. Everyone has the same story. I saw my mom put me on Weight Watchers. I started dieting when I was 6. I went to Weight Watcher meetings with mom. My mom was always on a different diet every week. And my mom always talked about food. So now I always just thought that was normal. I thought food noise is just what happens when you lose weight. And I go, no, that's not normal. We should not settle for that. So it definitely plays a role because of anything from when you're a child, you're just nothing but subconscious. You just are a sponge and absorb. So.
Yeah, I would add to that or expand upon that is, and I agree with everything you just said. Also, when kids see their parents' use of food for their own coping mechanism, right? So it's, wow, I witnessed mom, she got upset because mom and dad got into a fight and mom sat down on the couch and ate a tub of ice cream. That then subconsciously that's programming into the young child, oh, if we're emotionally dysregulated or we're upset, we do what mom did because I see that makes mom feel better. So then I want to go do that. That's one part of it. The other part is mom or dad wanted to go out, and it was sit there, be a good boy, be a good girl. Here's some food. Just sit there and be quiet and let the food occupy you. Right. So those can be two other examples of how, we're talking about an internal family system lens of how that relationship with food can be caught, not taught.
Yeah. A narrative isn't always directly explained. It's the meaning we have attached to it. Like it could be something like if someone never saw their dad cry, even though the dad may not have said, hey, we don't show emotions. But if the kid picked up on, oh, dad never showed his emotions, those obviously aren't safe to show. That was the internalization. So there's so many layers, just like the examples you gave. I agree 100%.
The one thing I hear with women, working with women as a nutritionist, is they feel like they have to earn their calories. When you were talking about relearning calories and making that a powerful tool. So what would you say to somebody who's thinking, well, I've got to work out X amount of times in order to earn my calories or earn my food, regardless of it being unhealthy or not?
I have a few lenses I look at that through. I go, number one, would you tell your daughter that? Like my immediate first thing is like, because I could tell someone like, you're not a dog, you don't have to earn your treat, like that conversation. But like I found what immediately disrupts that. I go, cool. So would you tell that to your daughter? Would you tell your 6 or 8 year old you have to earn your calories, you have to earn your treats, you have to earn those things? And then everyone gets like that feeling in their stomach. They're like, well, I probably wouldn't say it like that. I go, cool. So why is it okay for you though? Why is there a lack of congruency here? Because it's crazy. It's that concept of like true for thee, but not for me, where if we put everything through the lens of what would I tell this to my 8-year-old, or would I tell this to my best friend? And if there is any semblance of like, maybe not, then we have to pull the ripcord and go, well, then why is it different? I was just having a conversation with just like a couple days ago with a client of ours. She's struggling with some of like implementing emotional regulation, big emotional regulation person when it comes to this stuff. But she grew up in a household that like it was not safe to express your emotions. So of course, doing things like journaling and learning to feel feels wildly uncomfortable. But she also has a daughter. And so she mentioned, she goes, she's having trouble with some like the journal, some of the ways around journaling that we teach to help regulate. And I asked her because she just feels like, she said, oh, I just feel like I shouldn't have these big emotions. I go, if your daughter's dog died and she saw it got hit by a car, what would you tell her? What would you do? And she goes, oh, I would scoop her up and tell her it's okay. And that I would cry with her, and I would just like tell her it's okay to miss the dog and that her big emotions are safe. I go, cool. So when did that change for you? She's like, I don't have an answer to that. I go, this is where it's what I call, we put the ego on trial, is because if we don't ask these really hard questions, like, why is it okay that my daughter can feel all the feelings, but I'm not allowed to? What narrative is different? Because then fast forward to how this applies to food noise is she also hides her emotions with food because she's not allowed to feel emotions. If there's this belief internally, this rule of like, no, emotions are unsafe. That's why I was taught by mom and dad. My family never showed their emotions. I got made fun of when I was emotional. So you know what? I can't show. So when I go eat, I forget about what I feel, and my stress and my sadness and my overwhelm. But then when it's the daughter, it's no, you can feel all your emotions. Well, that daughter is getting mixed signals. You're saying one thing, but showing her another. Right? It's like having a dog jump on you and you say no, but then rewarding it when it does. It's like, what are you trying to teach here? So this is why it all comes full circle back to food noise. So.
Yeah, I love that. We're human, and so to deny ourselves the ability to have that emotion, right, or to let that emotion out, or to express it, would be to deny our humanity. I think the question then becomes: it's not the emotion; it's what is the behavior that emotion is then driving, and is that a behavior that serves me, that helps my family unit, or is that something that maybe takes me away, or to your point, is incongruent with the message that I want to share, with those that I love?
Totally. Emotion, I always view the way I view it is this way: emotions are okay. A lot of the stuff that's around the emotions is what we have to get a little bit different on. Like, for example, like if someone, they have an emotional moment, let's say a trigger comes up, and then their actions are they want to throw in the towel, they want to say screw it and go binge their face off. Like, well, that's not okay. The narrative we also draw from emotions are not okay. But that's why I always say the emotion is always okay. The emotion is, I don't care if it's illogical. The emotion is always allowed. The emotion is never wrong because it's your emotional experience. But the behaviors that we take based on that emotion, or the narrative or the story that comes up afterwards, is what we have to challenge. Emotions are cool, like, but everything else is we have to be careful of. Because the way I word it, like, let's say someone steps on the scale, it's a heavier number than what they want, so they feel discouraged. So instead of going, I'm allowed to be with discouraged, and actually processing the emotion of discouraged, they go, screw it, I'm an all or nothing person. I'm going to skip the rest of my plan. I'm going to go binge. I'm going to go whatever. And then we draw the narrative of, I must be too far gone. I'll never make it. It's no, we have to stop it at the story. Most people don't just go emotion and be with the emotion. They go emotion. Here's what it means to me. Then we act in congruence off of what that old, not so helpful narrative is. And that's where people get into trouble.
You sure you're not a counselor, man?
Positive. I've just done a lot of work on myself, and I've been in this game for a minute. So
Yeah, I really honor and appreciate that about you, man. I think you break it down better than some of the counselors, and I mean that as a sincere compliment.
I
That
appreciate that.
if you don't have the formal education, then that means that it's come through a lot of your own internal work, and so I honor you for that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And then the beginning of the podcast, you mentioned the nervous system, and we're huge on the nervous system here. So can we dive into a little bit of that?
Yeah, I think most of the negative decisions we make, like something that like I'm such a simple guy. Like I think everything should be simple. Even the most complex stuff, it should be like broken down to toddler level simple. And one of my favorite ways that I teach this is that most, not all, but most of the bad decisions we make are when we are nervous, our nervous system is dysregulated. Like whenever someone catastrophizes and then has catastrophication behavior, whenever someone says, screw it, I'll start over Monday, whenever someone says like they're going to go binge and they validate like, well, like F it, I'm just gonna whatever. When all of this stuff, or whenever we really sneak back into self-sabotaging behaviors, or whenever food noise is even at the highest, it's the one commonality is you are wildly dysregulated. So if we don't have systems and frameworks in place to regulate our nervous system, then we are going to be on this like roller coaster every day of not just emotions, but also actions based on those emotions. Because the goal is not to be regulated 24/7, because then you're emotionally flatlined. The goal is to be able to recognize, oh, I am dysregulated. Let me regulate. I view this is it's one of the grossest analogies I give. I view your nervous system very similar to going to the bathroom. The goal is to not never have the urge to go to the bathroom, but it's to have systems and frameworks in place. Is, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. Something in needs to come out. I'm going to go sit, hold space, let nature do its thing, and I'm never going to let stuff build up bad enough to where it's a big problem. Because you and I, we all eat food and drink water all day. So we go to the bathroom, most of us, periodically throughout the day. But we never wait till like we're about to explode to go to the bathroom. You're not like having to pee so bad that like your kidneys are about to erupt and you're like doing 10-minute long like bathroom sessions just to pee. Because when you go, oh, I need to go pee, you just like, it's not a big deal. You don't view it as a big deal. You just go take care of it and go on your merry way. I view your emotional regulation the same way. But the problem is most people are scared of their emotions, or they're unaware that they're dysregulated, or they're addicted to their dysregulation. That's a different conversation, where they stay there so long and it's just like a spring that's never let off. And it just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds and builds until one day it's like crazy and they have a breakdown or whatever. And it's the equivalent of like, imagine not going to the bathroom for 30 years. If we could do that, and then people are surprised that like I'm uncontrolled when my emotions get all over the place, where we have to retrain what our nervous system that like to be regulated, there's safety there, and not having guilt or shame around I'm feeling dysregulated, but then also have systems, just like you have systems to go to the bathroom every day, systems to bring regulation into your nervous system so we don't live in this fight, flight, fawn, freeze response all the time.
How important do you think it is for conversations like these to be heard and implemented and executed on in each person's own unique way, right? Whether that's working with Jared, working with a counselor, maybe just doing your own inner work on your own, healing journey. How important do you think that this work is to be done for somebody that's on their GLP-1 journey that maybe hasn't done this, right? They're listening to this conversation and they're like, whoa, this is hitting me to the core. How important do you think it is for them to engage in this process very early on in their GLP-1 journey? And also, to what degree do you feel like on GLP-1 or off of GLP-1, but specifically on GLP-1, would engaging in your coaching program or doing this work help to address the underlying root cause, which would hopefully help to prevent the weight regain after they come off of the medication? Because that's something that I don't hear spoken about, and everything that you're saying would make sense to me that we implement it quickly.
Yeah, we one of the biggest categories of clients we get are clients who are on GLP-1 and wanting to come off, but they have no idea how to do it without this stuff coming back. Or like, like if let's say someone's taking a shot every week, like let's say on a Monday, by Saturday, Sunday, they're like, oh my gosh, my food noise is already starting to come back because it's about due for their next shot. So if like that's happening, imagine how great it's going to be when we are off. So that's one of the big demographics we work with, and it's the utmost. It is because at the end of the day, I always say let me just say this. I am a net fan of GLP-1. I think it's an incredible tool, but also I do believe it is being overprescribed, and I believe people are not being educated on what to do while they are on it. Because this is why we see so many people get on it. They're like, oh my gosh, things are amazing. Then they come off of it, they're slapped in the face with all their issues again. Some are in a worse place than when they started because of the nature of it. So I think it's the most important thing that you could do. Like, for example, when people say, well, I'm going to get on GLP-1 and then I'm going to work on all these habits. But then I go, cool, which habits specifically are we referring to? How are you working on your relationship with food? How are you working on your emotional regulation? How are you rewiring your brain from a neural pathway standpoint? How are you unpacking the childhood beliefs and narratives that you had when you were a kid? Because if we can't answer those questions, I say this with all the love in my heart, but we can't be surprised when everything comes back because it never got addressed. Because if GLP-1, which I think is incredible, it suppresses everything. It's the off switch. So then we experience, oh my gosh, it's quiet for the first time upstairs. Oh my God, this is awesome. But then if we don't do anything, it's not going to get fixed. It's like imagine if like this analogy just hit. If imagine like you're having construction done to your house or electrical work and you have all these frayed wires sticking out. Well, you have to shut the power off to go fix them. But imagine just shutting the power off and going, oh, I'm not getting electrocuted anymore. All these frayed wires are fine. And then you just turn the power back on and then you're surprised that you're getting shocked again. Where no, the goal is you shut it off, you fix the wires, get it stabilized, then turn the power back on, and now you're good. Now, it's not that clean cut, but it's the same kind of philosophy when it comes to all this stuff. I do think, though, something I've noticed with our clients who got off it, all their issues came back, and then they joined my program and we worked with them versus the clients who are on it and working through it. I am noticing a pattern, though, and this is just my experience. It's harder to work through some of this stuff when it's not loud. It's like, how do you work through a trigger if you don't have it there with you? Like, how do we get over the fear of heights without getting on something tall? So if someone has food noise because let's say their food noise isn't, let's say they're on GLP-1 and they don't have food noise, it's really hard to work through certain triggers because the food noise is not present. So I think there's a level, that's why I think it, like on a graph, as we're coming off of it, we need to start working on a lot of these things. Not in general, regardless if the food noise is there or not, you need to become emotionally regulated. But a lot of these other things around food, it's like on a graph, as this is coming off, this other one needs to come on. And so that way they cross each other. So
That's interesting. I never thought about it from that perspective before, but yeah, that makes sense for sure. For sure. Maybe there's an opportunity to do some deeper inner work kind of earlier on in the journey. And then as the food noise starts to maybe pick back up, as you start to titrate down, you get back into doing more of the acute triggers.
Yeah, 100%. But otherwise, I think it is the most important thing ever. Like in the same realm as it's like it's so important to stay eating enough calories, enough protein, strength training while being on it. I think it is equal importance to be doing this other work. Like it is the same thing. It's like if you're going to be having your physical strength increase, you need to have your, lack of a better term, mental strength or your mental workings on the same level. Because if we're talking about a cognitive thing, if it's a food noise issue, well then, and we're not doing work around that, we cannot be surprised whenever we come off of it and the suppression goes away, that the issues start to come back. So that's why my thing is, let's get ahead of it and go back to, well, why is food noise here in the first place? Because everyone's experience is different. Get to the root cause of it, and then start working through all of that. So,
are you? I'm just curious. Are you? Well, are you thinking that too when you're seeing all these social media posts where they're talking about the weight regain, And listen, and I also want to be empathetic and understanding. For some people on GLP-1 medication, it is not just about the weight loss, right?
Right.
It's helping them with their PCOS. It's helping them with other areas of inflammation. Okay, so, of course, for those individuals, this drug is helping you, this medication is helping you. That is amazing. And if you and your doctor decide it's best to stay on it long term for those reasons, kudos to you. Like that's awesome. I guess I'm curious whether or not you're surprised at the lack of conversations around why is the weight regain so high afterwards. I see so many people putting the statistics out there about the weight regain, but nothing about So how do we stop that from happening? Are you noticing that too, or is that hitting you too?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I see it, but like, I'm not surprised either because because even though I'm in the industry, like the industry sucks. Like, like, I mean, statistically, all weight loss, and I'm pulling these statistics because from citing my sources, in Dr. Lane Norton's book, Fat Loss Forever, he pulls out the statistics of across all dieting for the most part and like weight loss is within 1 year, 75% of people regain their weight. Within year two, 85% of people regain their weight. Within year three, 95% of people regain their weight. So it is not just a GLP-1 issue. It is across the board. All weight loss attempt is just the statistics suck. Now I have my personal beliefs why that is, and that's why I mean honestly build my program the way I do and why I coach the way I do, because our clients, I've noticed patterns on like when they don't gain their weight back and things like that. But I think across the board it's the same issues that we see why regular weight loss doesn't work is because we're not getting to the root cause of the actual issue. So
Well said.
yeah.
Oh, Ashika,
Oh,
you're
you're
muted.
muted.
That's the first.
There
I
you go.
muted myself. So what if you get somebody or you hear of somebody saying, you know what, I'm on the GLP-1 and I'm just going to willpower through it.
I get it. And like, it's probably willpower. Like this is actually a very common thing we see is willpowering through it, whatever that means, is probably served you in many other areas in your life, but it actually does you a disservice here. It actually works against you. I just did a YouTube video about why your discipline and willpower is actually making your food noise worse is because most people, and for context, the majority of our clients are very busy, very high achieving women who are very successful everywhere else in their life except here. That's the exact words that they use. And the problem is most people have had a history in other areas in their life of more effort, more willpower, more discipline, more results. Think about your career, your college, your kids, any project that you've ever worked on. It's just like, oh, I'm just going to put more hours and more elbow grease into this. I'm just going to make it happen. But the problem is when we do that here, we're more restricted. More discipline, more effort is, well, I'm cleaner on my diet. I'm tighter on it. I'm dropping my calories lower. I'm doing more workouts. I'm working harder. Well, that's literally just like pulling a bow and arrow. You're pulling it back, and then we're shocked that food noise shoots forward, or binge eating shoots forward. It's not a willpower game. I always say you cannot out willpower your own psychology. And then I always tell them I give them the neuroscience numbers because when someone willpowers through something, that's a conscious thing, right? Like is the conscious mind. We're like, well, let's work really hard through this. From a neuroscience standpoint, your conscious mind can only process about 50 bits of information per second. That's it. Your subconscious mind can process 11 million bits of information per second. So when someone's like, well, I can willpower through it, you're talking about the 50. But that's why we can't out willpower our own psychology is because that's the 11 million. Now, like imagine an army of 50 trying to take on an army of 11 million. There's no world where they beat them. So to me, I go, we need to convert the 11 million to be on our side. That's why I always say we have to do nervous system work. We have to rewire your identity. We have to rewire the psychology is because that's what controls the subconscious. So if you don't get your subconscious on board and rewire your patterns and all that stuff and neural pathway work, that's why your willpower is like, I'm good for a while, but then that's only like the 10% of your day. But the 11 million bits of information per second is what actually is running the show. So you can keep willpowering, but that's what I would tell them that's what you've been doing. You've been doing that for 30 years and it hasn't helped. So that's kind of the lens that I look at it through.
Love that. Love that. Love that analogy.
Yeah. And
most people are shocked with the numbers. Like they're like, oh, that makes sense. Why? Because my thing is this, I just want enough of a perspective shift to go, oh, I never thought about it that way. Because you can't unsee it now. So.
yes. And then when we talk about food noise, would this be considered a permanent fix? Like, can someone come into this and say, you know what, I've got this food noise and, I'm going to be on a certain program, I'm going to work with a coach, and this food noise is just going to be permanently gone?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I say so because assuming you continue to do the things, like assuming you go through the things like continue to have a great relationship with food, continue to be emotionally regulated, continue to have the practices and the inner work and all of that. Because I view it like this. I don't view it any different than brushing your teeth. Like if I get to let's say I go to the dentist, teeth cleaned, my teeth are 10 out of 10, and I go, cool, I don't have to brush them again. Well, that's gross because none of this stuff is a destination you get to. It's a project that requires work every day, because like if you quit cleaning your house, it will get dirty again. If you quit brushing your teeth, they will get gross. I view this as no different. So that's why everything has to be, to me, be completely sustainable, where everything goes through what I call the 10-year filter. Whereas if you cannot do what you're about to do for the next 10 years, you shouldn't touch it for the next 10 days. So this is why, though, when I say yes, to me, I view this as a complete forever solution. But to me, whenever I'm working with someone, it comes down to we all should be have practice emotional regulation ongoing. I'm not going to get to a point where I'm like wildly emotionally regulated and never going to journal again or do breath work again or check in with myself or these kind of things. So yes, I say what the stuff I'm talking about fixes it permanently, but we still have to have the ongoing work in the same capacity as you are going to brush your teeth for the rest of your life. You should be checking in with yourself, prioritizing your mental health, continuing to work on your relationship with food and make sure it stays in a good place, ongoing. That's the way I view it. So.
What in your own personal journey, Jared, was there I mean, I'm sure that there was many moments, but is there any one kind of nexus point moment that sticks out for you in your own healing journey where, you know, I say you only have to until you want to. And then once you want to, it doesn't feel like, doesn't feel like I have to do it anymore. Was there any nexus point moment for you where you realized, hey, this has now become like a subconscious program for me where I'm like just doing this. I want to, it feels good and it feels in alignment. And if so, could you describe that moment to the listeners and to the viewers so that they could have something kind of tangible to relate with and hopefully connect to in their own journey?
Yeah. So for me, there wasn't necessarily and I'll explain the story. I don't necessarily have like a exact nexus moment, because I don't believe a lot of people do, because part of the nature of food noise is because it's like, we'll say it's like it's in your head. It's a noise. It's the ruminating thoughts and things like that. Well, as you heal through this, that means you don't hear it. And this is where a lot of our clients go, oh, I forgot I struggled with food so much. And they can't point like, when did I stop binge eating? When did I stop thinking about food? Because truly, that means you're not thinking about food. Because if this is where it gets really murky when establishing progress through this. This is why we need like definitive checkpoints and like what we call like recalibration points and things like that. Because part of healing through food noise is that means you're not thinking about food. That means you're not thinking about how much you used to think about it. Whereas like it's easy with, let's say, weight loss to go, I've lost 10 pounds, I've lost 20 pounds, or like I used to be able to struggle through a pull-up. Now I can do a full pull-up or whatever. It's easier and more tangible. With food noise, it is so much less tangible because as you heal, you forget. I cannot tell you how many women we've worked with who say, I forgot. They literally, like on day one, their food noise was a 10 out of a 10. It was ruining their life and they literally couldn't go 5 minutes without obsessing about food. And then we actually guarantee in my program, it's going to be cut in half in 6 weeks, or actually give them their money back. Like in my program. And then they're, let's say 6, 7, 8 weeks in, and they're like, oh, I forgot. I didn't think about food at all this week. But that's the hard part, is because we almost want that nexus point to go, this is the moment it's working. But it's also like, this is where it's individual, where think of it like falling in love, like if you have a partner, whereas some people, yes, they had the moment where like she walked across in her face and like, I fell in love in that moment. But for most of us, I couldn't tell you the moment I fell in love with my wife. It was such a like page in a book being turned. At what point did you reach this part in the book? It's like, it's so slow. It's like you don't see your hair grow out, but all of our hair, well, maybe not you, Ryan, sorry, is growing out. You know what I'm saying, though?
It's growing out here, just not here.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. That's why it's so hard for some people if they're not really thinking about this the right way, because the nature of healing through food noise is you don't think about it. And if you're not thinking about it, then you're not noticing the progress you're making.
Yeah.
But if every day you're like 1 day not thinking about food, 2 days not thinking about food, like you're now actually enabling the problem.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, no, I'm happy. That's a different answer than what I thought, but I appreciate that. And then I guess it begs the follow-up question, because it is important, right, for people to feel celebrated, to feel like they are making progress. And now that I hear you say that, it makes sense. It's like the progress is not thinking about the progress or the
Right.
decrease in the food noise, right? So how then is it important for you in the work that you do in your program, right, to then celebrate people or help people feel like they're hitting their milestones or making
Yeah.
that progress, or is it not important? Like for me as a
It's so
counselor.
important.
Okay, good. Because
It's
for me as a counselor, I have to highlight for people like, wow, did you realize you just set a boundary there with your partner and you just set it like, just, okay, well, I said it. And 3 months ago, when you and I first started working together, that was the big point of struggle for you. So if you could speak to that.
yeah. So I'm massive on that, and that's exactly how it comes up. Where because of the work that you did, that person subconsciously laid down a boundary, and they didn't even think about it. And you're like, whoa, huh, hold up. You would never have done that. And you would celebrate. We have so much like that because our coaching is very hands-on. So anytime we see like in real time, whether it be a call, a check-in, a messaging back and forth with the client, whatever, anything like that, we're like, that's a massive deal. We like point and label, hey, that would not have happened. We also have a routine of like where clients are celebrating their wins and sharing them and digging them out because most people subconsciously like overlook most of the wins that are actually like really big. So we actually have a process and a thing that we do ongoing where it's not thinking about how much did I think about food in the negative. It's what, like, think of it like, what evidence did I show this week that I'm becoming someone who's free around food? And they may go, oh, there's a moment where I started thinking about food, but realized I just wasn't being present. And then I got back to being present with where I was at. Or they would go, well, I was literally walking to the pantry to have a stress eating session, but then I realized the pattern. And I go, but that's not who I am anymore because we do identity work. And then they put it like that. We have them sharing those kind of wins. That's almost like, hey, how did you not think about food this week? It's we don't want to frame it like that. It's what are the wins and successes that are happening, showing you are becoming someone who is free around food, someone who these kind of things. But then also we have, from a coaching standpoint, we do have strategic touch points where, for example, when quantifying food noise, I'm a big 1 to 10 guy. Like when when someone starts with us, I want to know where the food noise is on a 1 to 10. 1 is in like it's non-existent. 10 is like it's rooting my life. I think about it every single day, and we'll notate that. And then let's say someone's like, oh man, today was great. I forgot. I never didn't even think about food at all today. I go, cool. So where on a 1 to 10 scale are you? They're like, oh, I'm only like a 4. I go, when you started, you were a 10. You're literally down 60% in your food noise. So like, it's almost like, this may sound like a dumb analogy, almost like how you would quantify blood work, where like you may not feel, or like blood pressure or certain things of like blood work, you may not feel it. But when the doctor goes, here was your original reading, here's your reading now, you're like, I had no idea my cortisol dropped, or my A1C's down this much, or my C-reactive proteins were so low. Like it went from, I view it the same way because as someone heals, they naturally forget how much they struggled with it. Because as someone who is free around food doesn't think about how much they think about food.
Right. Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. Okay. This conversation could go
Like
so
it
much
could just
longer.
keep
Let's
going.
Let's do
be
a part two.
respectful.
We have
Yeah,
to do, well, yeah, you read my mind.
100%. I'm all about that. So
let's wrap it up with one last question, Ashika. Make it a juicy one. Make it a good one, please.
Oh, I don't know. Oh my gosh, I want to save it for later, But what I
Mhm.
want to say is that, Jared, the way you're explaining, not having that food noise is you're giving people their life back. You're giving people more mental real estate. It's like I say to my clients, it's like it's the food freedom. That's what it was for me when I was dealing with food noise years ago, is that all of a sudden when you realize, oh yeah, I haven't thought about food in that way in a few days, but I've done all of these other things, right? And then when you gravitate towards food, it's like this excitement of putting a meal
Yeah.
together for yourself or your family, right? Your friends. It's like what I'm hearing is, with reducing or eliminating the food noise permanently, you're making food not something that people fear, but it's something you celebrate, that you use to nourish your body and your hormones and your cells, like all of that. So just, kudos to you. Like we love you here, Jared.
I appreciate it.
So
My big thing is, and where I think that a lot of guilt and shame come from for people, is food.
Yeah.
Just like you just said, food is so much more than fuel. I hate I hate it when the internet is just like, oh, food is fuel and nothing else. I'm like, if that's the case, your house is only shelter from the storm. It's just a bunch of walls that keep you safe from rain. Whereas if you think about it, your home is like where you raise your kids, where you connect with your spouse, your own sanctuary, where you're grounded at, where your safety is, where you entertain people, where you're like all where you have so much love, magical Christmases happen. Like your home is so much more than shelter. Food is so much more than fuel. Yes, that is one of the utilities of food, of like a million other things. But I think people forget, like, we have taste buds for a reason. We're meant to enjoy food. Every memory and experience we all want to have on our deathbed, in the back of our heads, all are surrounded by food. And it's usually not chicken, rice, and broccoli. It's usually like birthday cake with your kids, cinnamon rolls on Christmas morning. The random 2 nights ago, my brother hit me up. We don't have kids. I'm a super uncle though. My older brother said, "Hey, you want to go get ice cream with the girls?" And I said, "Absolutely." So we went on a whim and got ice cream with my nieces and had a nice evening. But I can't tell you how many clients have said, "Man, if I could just be able to go get ice cream with my kids on a whim without freaking out or having a mental breakdown, that's all I want." That's how it should be, though. Like, what? So that's why, at the end of the day, though, most people are programmed that food is only fuel. We're like, that's one of the utilities. But we have a society and a life where it's so much more than fuel. So that's why we have to treat it as such. So if you want fat loss and the life that you want with the experiences and memories, you have to have a fantastic relationship with food. And in most cases, when you have a fantastic relationship with food, food noise goes away.
Yes. Well,
Love it. I love it, man. Jared, I just want to just reflect something to you, man. You have such a great energy about you, and I can tell that you really, not only are you passionate about this topic, which is obvious. I hope all the listeners and viewers can sense that. It's not only that, man. You really, I get the sense that you really love people. Like you really, really want to help people with
Yeah.
this journey. And I see that, man, all over you and all about your energy. And I'm so grateful that you joined us today. When the book gets closer to launching, man, we'd love to have you on again,
Yeah, of course.
and talk more about it. But your energy is so good, and the intentionality that I feel in your energy, like I can just tell you really care about people, man. So I just
Mm.
wanted to let you know that I see that about you.
I appreciate that, man. That means more than you know. So I appreciate you guys having me on. This has been great. It's great getting to know you guys, and thanks for having me. So
oh, this is awesome, Jared. We'll definitely be in touch and looking forward to having you back here with us. Have a
cool.
great day. All right,
You
talk to you
too.
soon, Jared.
Bye,
Okay,
guys.
bye.
Bye.